They called it a crown of glory, the weight of power, the shimmer of prestige, the symbol of perfection. But few realized that beneath that crown, a heart was breaking quietly. Sheikh Hamdan wore it with grace, with a smile the world adored, yet every gem embedded in that gold carried a memory, a sacrifice, a silent wound. Not every crown hides gold, some hide pain. His did. It gleamed under the sun but dimmed under the moon, when the palace walls whispered the truths no one dared to speak aloud. There was a time when his laughter was real, when his eyes sparkled not for the cameras but for her. She had been his freedom before duty found him. Her presence was a melody that turned his chaos into calm. But destiny, cruel, royal, and relentless, took her away, leaving behind a silence that no applause could fill. From that day, every smile he wore became a costume, and every word he spoke to the world was a line in a performance he never auditioned for. The world saw the glory of the crown, but not the gravity it carried. They saw a prince surrounded by luxury, yet never saw the loneliness behind it. Gold can blind, and so can admiration. He learned early that people see what they want to see, not the man beneath, not the ache behind his composed gaze. His silence became his protection, his poetry became his confession. He wrote not to impress, but to survive. His ink was his rebellion against expectation. "You see gold," he once said in a poem no one was meant to read, "but I see the chains that shine." Those words weren't for fame, they were for himself, the only place he could still be real. Every verse he wrote bled honesty. It was the only place his soul could breathe, far from titles, far from tradition, far from the ghost of the life he never chose. People think pain makes you weak, but his pain made him human. Behind every royal decree was a man wrestling with destiny. Behind every public appearance was a battle between duty and desire. He carried both with grace, but at a cost. Some nights, he would stand on the palace balcony, staring at the city lights, his creation, his pride, and yet feel utterly alone. He had everything but the one thing he wanted: the freedom to love as a man, not as a monarch. His crown was heavy not because of its weight, but because of what it meant to lose for it. He sacrificed not for vanity, but for the vision of a nation. Still, the heart doesn't understand politics, it only understands longing. And longing, in his life, became a shadow that never left his side. The world applauded his strength, but he knew the truth: sometimes, strength is just the art of hiding pain beautifully. There were moments in the quiet of night when he'd remove his crown, place it beside him, and whisper to it, "You've taken everything." The silence would answer him back, not with comfort, but with truth. He knew he couldn't hate the crown, for it was his destiny, but he couldn't love it either, for it was also his prison. It glowed with gold, but inside it was carved from sorrow. His poems became his secret language with the universe. Each one carried coded emotions: grief disguised as beauty, love wrapped in metaphor, pain softened by rhythm. When the world read them, they called him romantic. When he read them, he called them wounds. That was the real brilliance of his art. No one realized that every verse was a piece of him dying gracefully on paper. Sometimes people would ask him why he never married the way they expected him to. He would smile, that same serene, distant smile, and say, "Some hearts already belong elsewhere." They thought it was poetry. It wasn't. It was truth wrapped in elegance. The woman he once loved didn't wear jewels or hold power, she held his peace. And when she left, she took his laughter with her. He often said that
not every crown is cursed, but his was bittersweet. It gave him the power to change lives, but it stole the life he once dreamed of living. Behind every royal portrait, there exists a man who wonders what it would feel like to be ordinary, to love without barriers, to weep without witnesses, to live without duty. But he never complained, he simply wrote, because poetry became he writes at dawn now, when the world is quiet enough to hear the whispers of his soul. The ink stains his fingers, but he does not care. Each word he writes feels like a conversation with her spirit. Between the desert winds and my tears, he pens softly, your name still echoes, not as pain, but as the proof that I once loved truly. His poems have become his confession, his redemption, his eternal vow. Sometimes, he dreams of meeting her again, not in palaces or cities, but here, in the place where it all began. The dunes bathed in golden light, the air thick with memories. In that dream, she smiles, and for a moment, all the years of pain fade away. No crowns, no distance, no rules, only two souls that time tried but failed to separate. He wakes up with tears on his face, whispering her name to the dawn. The world sees him as unshakable, a prince, a poet, a leader. But beneath that composure lives a heart that still bleeds quietly for the woman who once held it. She may never return, but her essence never left. Her name is carved into his heart, not as a scar, but as an eternal mark of love. For there are some names time cannot erase, and hers is written in his every breath. And so, he stands once more in the desert, where the wind meets his tears. The horizon glows with the last light of day, and for a fleeting moment, he feels her beside him again, invisible, eternal, unforgotten. He closes his eyes and lets the wind carry his words away, knowing that somewhere, somehow, her soul will hear them. Between the desert winds and my tears, he whispers, your name still echoes, and it always will. It's only rebellion against silence. When the world sees Sheikh Hamdan today, they see perfection carved in gold. But the truth is far more haunting, they see the crown, not the cost. They see the sparkle, not the sorrow. His eyes have learned the language of restraint, but sometimes, if you look closely enough, you can see the story still burning there. A story of a prince who wore his pain so beautifully that the world mistook it for light. And so his legacy is not just built on leadership or poetry, but on endurance, the quiet strength to love, lose, and still smile for the people who believe in him. Because not every crown hides gold, some hide a soul that has learned to shine through heartbreak. His crown may glitter, but his heart glows differently, not with the luster of jewels, but with the soft, steady light of a man who turned pain into poetry and sorrow into something.